Alrighty, well, let's get started. There's lots of excitement in the studio today. We are lucky enough to have a very special guest joining us on the podcast. This is the Unfunded Podcast second guest, so we're very excited about that. Finally got another guest on.
Everyone else is scared.
Yeah.
No, we're nice.
Today's guest is currently one of Australia's best elite triathletes. She's currently ranked 60th. Best female triathlete in the world. She's won multiple Conti Cups, Oceania Championships and World Cups, and on top of all of that, she's represented Australia in the 2022 Tokyo Olympics. So please, everyone at home, put your hands together for Emma Jeffcoat.
And everybody here. Yes.
I can hate an intro, hey?
Oh my God.
So cringe.
Oh, I feel like I nailed that one.
You did really good. That was great.
Yeah, thank you. Alrighty, well, better than any of us telling everyone about Emma Jeffcoat. How about we get it from Emma? Emma, let's start it off. Let's hear a little bit about yourself. Your journey through the sport so far, how you started, whatever you want to talk about.
Your favourite colour.
Yeah.
Let's start with how you started.
We want to know the nitty gritty.
Perfect. So I started in tri similar to Locke. I came from surf lifesaving background. I wasn't one of those kids that grew up doing triathlon. I only kind of got into sport probably midway through high school. Really struggled with like self-esteem, body image stuff. So actually just got into running and swimming to try and, I guess, grow some self-confidence. And it spiraled and became a full-time full-time job that doesn't earn me anything.
Yeah.
Full-time hobby.
Why is that? Is because you were quite good at it?
Yeah. I think I just surprised myself. I'm stubborn as anything and pretty determined. So in terms of like endurance sport, worked pretty well. And yeah, I was half a handy athlete when it comes to the surf club side of things. So thought I wanted to leave school and do the Nutrien series. So that was kind of my ambition. I wanted to be a professional athlete in that. I think as Locke's touched on, like it's real hard to turn that into a professional job and a living. It doesn't really go much past Australia. Those guys, don't get me wrong, they work incredibly hard, train over 3 different sports, but the ability for it to kind of take you internationally and to go to things like Olympic Games, it didn't have that prospect. And I also went to uni, so studied Bachelor of Nursing, specialised in emergency care. So my parents were big on, I don't want to say backup plan, but having something else going for me, so a bit of balance so that I wasn't kind of all in on sport. I think that was probably one of the best things that they really kind of persisted at for me, and I'm really grateful that I did kind of push through and finish that degree as well. So yeah, transferred kind of across from surf maybe 2 years out of uni into tri, and I was lucky. I was always real strong in terms of the swimming and got the hang of the bike pretty early on, so I was able to kind of race at a domestic level quite strong and be in the race, I think, from the get-go, which was really advantageous. It allowed me to kind of have quite a quick progression through the sport. So I think I did my first elite race, fun fact, did my first elite race 2014. Ended up getting DQ'd because I took a banned substance and didn't know, so got a doping violation.
Wow.
Yeah, not many people know that, so got a doping violation.
What was that?
Imagine you like,
I had actually heard that.
you get your pro license
heard that,
and
yeah.
you're like this little frother that's like, fuck yeah, I'm a pro. And then like I literally got an email on my birthday in
shit.
December being like, here's your 4-year ban. And I was like,
I thought it was-
holy shit.
Was it?
You got down to
What?
3 months.
I
in
got
the
it down
end?
to 3 months.
I
yeah.
actually think I read that somewhere.
Yeah, so I got it down to 3 months.
My
What was-
research on you.
Yeah, what was the story? What
I
happened?
was taking a diuretic. Like I was taking, for my skin, I was taking like a diuretic, which is a masking agent, and I had no idea. So fresh.
You're just so naive at that
So
point.
naive.
right?
Yeah.
So
But
naive.
the odds of getting drug tested
Right?
as well
Yeah.
Yeah.
at the same time. Did you do pretty well in
I
that
came
race?
second at like
Okay, yeah, that kind of
a
makes
Conti.
sense.
And I was like frothing that I got drug tested. I was like
Yeah.
that level of like fresh to the
Everyone
sport.
thinks you're the best when you get
yeah, I
drug
was like,
tested.
yeah, I got drug tested.
Yeah.
2 months later, I'm like, ooh, that drug testing
shouldn't
didn't
have-
go too well for me.
Bit me in the ass.
What were then the emotions of that? You've
Panic.
got 4-year ban.
Yeah.
Panic. Because
Yeah,
at that
right.
point, I was like, I was so obsessed with the ideal of this sport and kind of like where I envisioned being able to go with it. And then I'd just been slapped with a 4-year ban. And then all of a sudden you're trying to find lawyers and argue it. And thankfully I was able to prove like it was all completely innocent ignorance. So I got like a retrospective 3-month ban. So I was able to come back and start racing early 2015.
So,
So
Wow.
it's just like,
wow. How long did it take that legal
A long
legal
time.
battle to get over
Long
it.
time. My dad was really helpful. He was able to find similar cases in the US and show that athletes that had taken similar substance got like a slap on the wrist, kind of like 3-month ban.
Yeah.
So he
Don't
kind
do it
of
again, sort of
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Did you have to do the haircut and everything like
No,
that?
I just said that like I admitted to taking it, so I didn't even make them test the B sample.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, went back
Well,
and I was
yeah,
like,
I'm
I'm
using
definitely
it for my skin.
So I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
admitted I was like, I'm taking it because I'm trying to clear my skin up. I had no idea I'm an athlete. I didn't realize I needed to get a TUE.
fresh. Yeah.
So,
Right.
but anyway, it was really scary at the time. So yeah, but then by 2016 made like my first like elite team and was over racing in Europe. So from like end of 2014 to 2016 doing that whole Europe stint, and then 2017 in I did my first World Series race on the Goldie and came 11th.
Yeah.
So I
wow.
felt like I just had a real quick trajectory
Yeah.
in the sport. But since then it's been so up and down with injuries and whatnot. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into triathlon, a bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. It's cool hearing like everybody's, like you say, everyone sort of has different like peaks. Some people are peaking straight away. Some people take a while to get there. Like, and then some people can sustain that sort of high level of racing for a while. But there are quite a few athletes that, there's those peaks and troughs in everything. So
100%. And I think like for me, I had a great race earlier this year in Napier at the World Cup. And that was so refreshing
we spoke about
personally.
that, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it was really refreshing because my run is something that is what I struggle with. And I know I can run. It's just I lack the consistency from having like a lot of injuries over time. So to kind of get back to that level of performance in what came down to a run, sprint finish was awesome. But yeah, sometimes I got to remind myself of the races I've done in the past and be like, fuck, you actually are capable.
Yeah.
You just got to,
Don't define yourself by those sort of bad days.
Yeah, 100%.
Lockie, your fucking phone. Can you?
Is that my phone?
Can you get?
Sorry. I was
Fuck,
sorry.
hinge again.
I was looking over at yours and I was like, Sarah, shut your phone up.
No, it's not mine.
I said that before. I was like, where's my phone? Oh, sorry. My bad.
Cool. It's cool.
I wanted to sort of touch on something you said at the start, like early on in those, I guess, sporting years when you were having those sort of body image issues and, a bit of self-esteem. Like you've obviously been, like we've seen, a big advocate of women in sport, and you've gone on podcasts and you've spoken about topics like that. Is that something that you like really enjoy doing to almost make younger girls in maybe a similar position feel more comfortable about themselves? Like, is that something that you want to be maybe later on down the track, like a real advocate for, I guess, a good representation
Positive
for
body image.
Yeah, 100%. I think, like, I can give you a prime example. Just the other week, I was out in, like, regional New South Wales. It was, like, country champs and, like, mini Olympics for country kids. And one of the coaches of the triathlon program comes up to me, and it was me and a basketball player that were out there kind of supporting the kids for the weekend. And he comes up and he's like, God, it's so good to see you standing next to, like, her being the basketball player. And she's, like, literally 6 foot something. And he's like, because it makes you look small. He's like, I'm so used to watching you race on TV and you're easy to spot because you're just the biggest one on my screen.
Oh.
Are
And
you
he's-
fucking
Yeah,
kidding?
yeah. And he said that, right? He said, I've just done an hour and a half Q&A with like a room full of athletes that are from ages like 14 to 17, giving them everything I've got to give in terms of like advice. And that's what he comes up to say at the end of that. I'm like, that's what you've got. That's all you've got for me.
Yeah, this
Like,
is all that
Yeah.
you took away from it.
and I said to him, I'm like, you've actually just insulted her because she's fucking bronze Olympic medalist and she's tall. She's not big. And you've just insulted me. But also the more concerning part is you coach a whole group of junior female athletes.
Oh my
So
God.
Yeah.
when you're speaking to them, do you refer to me as big? Because then those female athletes who might look up to me as an older athlete in this sport then think to themselves, well, how do I compare to Emma? Because if my coach says she's big, well, what do I look like?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just the culture around it is toxic in terms of body image and comparison and the commentary, especially in women, around body shape.
Yeah, well.
And it just, for me, it was really toxic. I came from surf. I was so confident. It's like more of a stronger build and I'd never had any body image issues. I
Yeah.
came into tri. One of my earliest memories was at a track session and the coach told me to put my shirt back on because no one wants to see that.
oh.
Yeah.
What the hell?
And so it's like you're 18, 19 years old coming into this new sport and I've got all these big dreams and aspirations and instantly that from the get-go I just thought, okay, well I need to make myself smaller.
Yeah, how do you respond to that? Do you then go into the psyche of, well, I'm not good enough, or
Yeah.
maybe obviously you've probably changed that perspective
100%.
over time. But was it initially like I'm not this suit for the sport or whatever?
I think it's common knowledge. Like
Yeah.
back in those days, the girls were so lean. Like
Yeah,
the whole
tiny,
cohort of
yeah.
elite women at the time were tiny, and I was the odd one out. And you would have like dietitians and physios and coaches make comments around like my body shape being different and bigger and solid. And at the time, like I just then wanted to shrink myself. Now I'm like, no, fuck Emma. Like your strength is your strength.
Yeah.
Like that's what set you up to be able to be at the front of races and in
Yeah,
races. And it's like to have that for so long kind of diminished, and then me trying to just literally restrict, which then just led to injuries.
Yeah. Did that
And-
obviously impact your racing and injuries?
Yeah, it just led to
Obviously with the
injuries.
whole red S,
100%.
we all know.
But like,
yeah.
fuck, you guys, don't let me go down a rabbit hole. wrap me up,
We won't.
wrap me
Yeah.
up quick. But like one last comment, I think is just like paramount to like how you can get into these just toxic cycles. First bone stress injury, world champs, my first world champs in Mexico, Cozumel, found out I had a stress fracture in my femur 2 days before the race. So they're like, you're not racing, you're going home. Like we're flying you home. I'd had a trip through South America booked off the back of world champs. And I was like, wait, what? I'm like traveling for 2 months after this. Like, I don't want to go home. They're like, you got an option. Anyway, get dropped to the airport by a member of the team staff, and he says to me as he's like helping me board the plane, just try not to eat too much while you're off injured and get too fat because you'll find it really hard to come back.
Oh.
First
That
bone
is
stress
insane.
injury. Yeah.
It's so crazy what women kind of had to deal with this. Because I don't know what it's like for you guys, but have you ever experienced anything like that in terms of like around your
mean,
body shape,
it's
your,
not really.
your
I mean-
weight or anything?
I don't think I think I'm the lucky enough to be in a position where maybe it didn't affect me as much at the start, but I mean again, like I'm not big, but again, like Emma said, on a triathlon start list, you know, I'm 75 to I weigh in anywhere from 75 to 80 kilos, sometimes 80s off season, eating lots, drinking lots, but like, you know, there's guys on start lists that are 55, 60 kilos. So
Yeah.
it's like sometimes you know, 20 to 15 kilos heavier.
Yeah.
So I've it's never really resulted in me, you know, wanting to eat less or thin myself out. But I do know people, and we do have friends that have gone down that rabbit hole, and they are males that have tried to,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
cut weight
And obviously get injured
and got
go
injured.
through
So
the cycle.
yeah.
It's such a difficult headspace to land in because you know, like physics tells you the lighter you are, the quicker you're going to go.
Yeah.
But it's like, I also can't change my body shape.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be able to go and race and operate as a functioning human at 50 kilos.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
not me. But then, you know, I remember getting weighed and I was like 65, 66 kilos. And we were in the gym and the coach goes and picks up a 15 kilo weight and he's like, feel this. He's like, you're carrying this around compared to the other girls.
I've seen a coach do that
Oh
to
my
another
God.
female. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw one of my old coaches. He went and grabbed a weight and gave it to one of
Yeah.
the girls and said, "This 10 kilo weight. This is how much." And I thought,
Yeah.
Wow.
I was 17 when I saw that and thought that is wild.
That's
And-
really not that long ago either. Do you know what I
No,
mean?
yeah.
Like,
Really
move
scary.
with the times,
Yeah.
for God's
See,
sake.
I think we are still stuck in, and correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe especially in Australia and maybe the coaching scene is still very old school. And because we had a lot of success as a nation back in the early 2000s, you know, around that time, we've almost stuck with what worked back then. We haven't moved on with the times. We haven't educated ourselves into the current, you know, this is the day and age of how, like,
I definitely feel it comes from that hard ass training style.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel, involved a lot in the swimming. I feel I get that from swimming coaches a lot. They're hard ass, they're old school, and it's like you got to cut this,
Drill
cut this.
sergeant.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're not doing that, it's not correct.
but it's so
Yeah.
true because we are in such a different sport to anything like we're not just runners, you know, we're not just cyclists, we're not just swimmers. Like we have to be so dynamic across three. Like I accidentally got like really light leading into the 2023 world champs, my first under 23 world champs. I didn't intend on like, you know, losing weight. It was just something that I didn't properly eat. So it was an accident. But I did start to dip under the 70 kilos and I ran the fastest 10K run I've ever run off the bike. But I didn't make the front pack in the swim and I rode like shit. And they're my two strengths. So,
Yeah.
you know, you give here, you take there.
Yeah.
So it's hard to try find the right I guess.
balance of where you are.
100%.
as an athlete, yeah.
And I think if we come back to like the original question, for me, I'm really passionate about speaking up about it, because I think the more you kind of bring the conversation to the surface, the next generation feel like, oh, I'm not alone if I have comments made that way, and there's someone that's dismissing and invalidating those comments for
and
me.
not only like you've been an inspiration, right? Because you've taken that comment and you've gone literally run with it, right? And succeeded. So now people can see like, yeah, you might get these comments, but it doesn't mean shit. Do you know what I mean?
100%. The only thing I'll say like that I struggle a little bit still, and I only had this conversation like the other day, and I was like, fuck, that makes a lot of sense. The only thing I still sometimes struggle is because you're like the, I guess, leader of that, it then is like reiterating, because you're like, oh, like it still kind of feels a bit shit, because you're like, it's kind of reinforcing that I am like the flag bearer for the big people.
Yeah.
Which then you know what I mean? Because you're like, everyone's like pats you on the back, but you're like, but that's just reiterating that I am the bigger one, the biggest one in the room.
I was actually,
you know, and it's like,
yeah,
fuck, that kind of, That,
it's not, you don't really want to emphasize that fact, but then it's like to be open and raw about that. You kind of okay.
Never thought of it that, because I was going to ask the question. I feel as if you come across as very much a leader in like the women's sport triathlon world. I feel as if you're one of the leaders in Australian women's triathlon. I was going to say, where do you kind of get that from? Like, is that from like a young kid? You know, your parents?
So funny, because I reckon if you guys had have sat down and like spoken to me 5 years ago, I wouldn't have been in the same space. Like my confidence over the last 5 years, probably since Tokyo, has grown like exponentially. To be honest, I just give a lot less fucks about what other people think. I used to just be so concerned about like making everyone else happy and pleasing other people. And I just realized at the end of the day, like they're in it for themselves. Like I'm in it to try and get the most out of me. And by me just trying to conform to everyone else is actually not making anyone happy, and I'm suffering. So from like, I've come a long way, and now I'm like, nah, fuck it. I'm just going to own my shit. Say how I feel about things. It's not everyone's going to agree with it, but I've found so funny, like ironically, that as I've stepped into that, the amount of people who are like, thank you.
Kind of follow.
Thank you so much for being a voice. And you're like, shit, like, wow, all I'm doing is just showing up as me.
Being yourself.
Okay.
It's good.
So
when you be authentically you, people respond to that.
Yeah, a bit corny, but yeah.
Yeah, it is. I'm always corny. Was that the turning point, the Tokyo Olympics, that kind of you said, oh, I've done well here, now I can just kind of like let go a little bit?
Almost the opposite. I was so disappointed.
Oh.
Yeah, I was so disappointed with how Tokyo went, and I kind of thought going to an Olympics would make me feel like complete and so amazing, and you'd always feel like, you know, on top of the world, because you're like, fuck yeah, I'm an Olympian.
This is one of my biggest, like, I love this topic on like the before and after of
mate,
it's my biggest, I love it.
Because you want to go there too, right? Like,
well, no, I've just heard so many like stories on the
dump after such a big high.
That when you talk about peaks and troughs, that is literally the biggest peak, and then like that 3 months after is just the biggest trough. I remember speaking of Ryan Fisher about this exact topic.
I can tell you, like, I went from the individual event, I was like the only female that finished, and so I'm battling with like being so shattered for my two teammates who didn't get to finish. I've just become an Olympian and race, and like am going through all these waves of emotions. Everyone had already gone back to the village. So everyone in the rest of the team had got on the bus and gone back to the village. So I'm like, just finished the Olympics, gone through media. You don't have any family and friends around. It's Tokyo. I'm by myself. I get drug tested, and I sobbed. Like, I rang my sister and just sobbed in drug testing.
Why did they leave?
Because they hadn't finished.
Oh, so you were just there alone?
Yeah.
No support staff?
Yeah.
Oh.
That is quite... Did you feel like abandoned, kind of?
That is awful.
It just was such a low, because I was like...
There's no one here to celebrate you.
Like, I came 26. Like, I was nothing to shy. Like, I wanted more, but fuck.
It's still very respectful. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I like had a great swim. Like, it was a tough one too, because there was like dynamics at place. Like, I was playing a domestique role, which that didn't, like, no one could know about the domestique role, and it didn't work out. So there was these underlying factors that it kind of left it a bit murky afterwards too. But I'm quite an empathetic person, so I was shattered for them, but also wanted to be happy for myself. And so to then just walk away and be like, fuck. And I think the biggest thing was waking up the next day and being like, I feel no different. I'm exactly the same person, and I'd built this Olympics up to be like a turning point of like, once you're an Olympian, like you're just going to feel better about yourself. And I was like, nope, still the same Emma.
Wow.
Still got the
That's so
same shit that I'm dealing
That
with.
stuff gives me goosebumps.
I just got them
It's-
too.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
No, I like
it's-
every time I hear a different
Yeah.
athlete's like perspective on the Olympic Games, and it's super dependent. Even if they're if they've won or they didn't finish or anything in
Yeah.
between, it's so.
It is a fascinating topic because it is that
The emotion- it's the
extreme
emotion.
high. Where do you go?
Well,
from
yeah,
there
like
kind of
we
thing?
focus so much on being in your physical peak, but then you kind of look past the emotional side of it. And like you said, you like who would think that you just finished an Olympic Games and you're there crying? Like, yeah,
So it is emotional.
And how often do you hear people say they're relieved?
Yeah.
Like, what was the overwhelming when you won an Olympic medal? Relief.
Yeah.
It's
like-
over.
Thank God.
Yeah, the pressure's over.
But like, that's
I
what
can
you want to
relax.
tell people when they're like chasing that dream. I'm like, look, I'm like, dreams are so important to have, but fuck, you got to appreciate the everyday and enjoy what you're doing
on the
because
process.
you might not make it. If you make it, I can tell you right now, it's not going to be the be all and end all.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Olympics now? Would you go back?
That's a good question. I think it was tough not really having an opportunity going to Paris. I had like such a rough year, injury, and some fertility stuff as well, 2023. So Paris was off the cards. So that was a tough one to kind of sit back and watch at home. No one really prepares you being an Olympian
And not getting
not getting picked for the next one. When you're still in the sport. I think if you stepped away and retired, it's like, cool, that's awesome. Yeah, I've been to one. But to still be in the sport, it was a really challenging period, I guess, to navigate through, especially being injured and not even able to
compete for it.
compete for it. Kind of, felt like a lost opportunity there. But then I think looking forward to LA, I think that's where my headspace has completely shifted. I just am back loving triathlon, loving like the process, the racing, the people, the travel. I'm that bit older. I take it for what it is. And I'm like, fuck, this isn't going to last forever. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, live the dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, and make them like I've always been someone that makes the most of things. I think I've been criticized for it for a bit in terms of not taking triathlon seriously enough. But I'm like, I see athletes travel the world and they literally stay in a hotel room and don't do shit. I'm like, you guys will regret that once you're older. So
That
Exactly.
actually comes to like lines of one of my questions. Like, how do you find a good sort of triathlon life balance? Like, how long has that taken you to find? Because I think we're kind of similar to you. We like to go there, and I don't like to just sit in a hotel room. Even in terms of, go out and have a couple of drinks after the race. It's not going to kill you. Like, have fun. Like we are
still 20 to however old
20,
you are.
and we're only in this sport for
Yeah.
a very, very small amount of time. Like, not a lot of jobs allow you to travel around the world and get to see Europe like 6 months of the year. So
100%.
how have you kind of found that? Because obviously we're there to do a job, but we're also human beings who want to enjoy it. So how do you find that?
It's a tough balancing act. Like I feel like early days I probably didn't get it right, but ironically it's kind of almost when I raced my best.
Yeah.
I think because I was like so appreciative to be able to be in this country and to be sightseeing and seeing the country, and then I'd go and race and it's like, I've just had an absolute bull. I've already won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all you guys are so stressed and like worried about the racing. I'm like, I've just seen like Budapest.
Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. Like you're all like, complaining that you got to go to Tisy. I've just spent 4 days, walking around Budapest.
Yeah.
I've done my training that I need to do. I've sightseen, and then I go and fucking win the World Cup.
Yeah.
You're like, sweet, let's go have some drinks.
I won twice.
I think that approach, and I actually have found when I tried to take it more seriously and just like be all in on triathlon, I like just mentally struggled because I was like, it's just strip the fun from it.
Yeah.
But again, like that, you need to get the work done, and I'm probably not the best when I do compromise sometimes on sleep, and there's times where I should probably put training higher up the priority list than outside hobbies.
Maybe not.
Hey, it works.
Yeah.
Exactly, it works.
I just think at the end of the day, like I just don't want to walk away from this sport with regrets and wish I had have done things, differently or made the most of like opportunities to travel and see these amazing places and actually soak them up for what they are.
I guess once you're stuck in a rut of a normal job, working 9 to 5, like as a
Man, I'm
nurse,
gonna be a nurse.
yeah, exactly
Oh,
right.
God.
Yeah.
King's Cross
job.
ER by the sounds of it, and then far out. You don't get much time to, I guess, travel and do all that after. Really,
No. And I just, you look at some athletes and they finish a race and they're disappointed and they're just like in this rut and they're like, well, now I'm going to go punish myself and just go do more training and then not go out to dinner. I'm not saying everyone needs to go have some drinks. Like, you're welcome to, but
Like, I'll be there.
where will
Yeah.
you be Sunday?
See you there.
on Sunday. But I just think, like, you look at him like, fuck, like, you're going to look back on this and be telling your kids, like, well, I hope one day you're telling your kids, like, you know, I raced a World Cup in Rome and, like, I'm not going to remember where I placed in that race.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm going to tell you about how I was singing and dancing on the street that night, like, in a square in a local neighborhood in Rome. Like, that's what I'm going to remember.
Because they're going to ask, what was Rome like? Not what was that Rome race like?
Right.
Like,
They don't really care.
Yeah.
Oh, you did triathlon? Don't care. What was everything like? Don't know.
Exactly.
Stayed in my bedroom.
I ate my breakfast,
Yeah,
lunch,
yeah.
dinner, and ran.
Chicken and rice. And then
Chicken,
that was
rice,
it.
veg.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any I like this question. Any ways to prepare for a race or any superstitions? This is one of my favorite questions. Do you wear lucky underpants or anything like that?
No, I don't. I'm pretty boring. I think I just stick to the same routine like pre-race because I know it works. And then I think having a routine that you stick to just takes a little bit of the nerves away because you're not having to think about like, fuck, what do I need to do? You just like bread and butter. I do the same.
Yeah, consistency. So what does that entail?
I always just eat the same thing, crumpets with Biscoff and Nutella every morning.
Yum.
Yep, every morning. And so that's like breakfast, go for like a shakeout run, like 15 minutes, do some drills off the back of that, come back, watch something crappy on Netflix, do some like activation mobility. I've already got like my bag packed for the race like the night before, so that's kind of like done. Then like roll down to the race site like an hour and a half beforehand.
Yeah. And do you spend a lot of time getting into the mental space?
I like to just have like a playlist that I've probably had. I just chuck a few songs on it every now and then, but it's like been the same playlist for like 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
So it's again similar, like it's the same music that is just like familiar. I play it if I've got like a quality session that I need to muscle through or like pre-race. Just kind of like drowns out the outside noise. Yeah, and you just like because it's so like the nervous energy around a race and all the other athletes who normally like I'm a chatty person. You're like used to chatting with. No one wants to talk. They're like all quiet, and nervous. I'm like, fuck. I'm just gonna put music in because then I can just drown that out.
It's always a weird divide in the briefing area and like those. It's like you got your people who they have headphones in, towels over their head. And to be fair, I'm one of those people.
I was gonna say
to be fair, I wake up and like I hate Leighton. Like the race. Like
What
everyone's
have I done today?
everyone's my fucking enemy. But like there is such a divide. You got people like that, and you do have people that I hate going into a race with Luke Willian because he just wants to talk to me.
Yeah.
I was like, mate, I want to punch you. Like it's funny having those two divides between the athletes.
So true. Yeah, I'm a chatty one. Sorry.
Usually we're racing in different times, so it's okay. I don't want to take up all the questions. I got heaps.
I was going to say,
I've been asking them all.
Yeah.
Obviously, post triathlon, you say it's not going to last forever. We know that you do nursing.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to do after, or is it just straight into nursing? Is that your passion after sport, or?
I'll be honest. I don't see myself going back and working on a ward.
Yeah.
I would love to do like paramedics.
Yeah.
Or ED, ICU. I'm like adrenaline junkie. I love that stuff.
See some gory
Get
stuff.
the
I love
ambos,
it.
like screaming down the highway.
Yeah, or like coming down from the helicopter, like pulling people off cliffs and stuff. I would love that. But I also see myself hopefully doing some work for the Australian Olympic Committee. So I do a fair bit of work with them already. I was in Melbourne with them yesterday. They had like the Winter Olympic athletes. They did their processing for their Milano Olympic Games next Feb. So went and spoke to the athletes down there about, so I work in like the community engagement program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I guess it ties back into like that work.
Speaking.
Yeah, and like next gen and we go into schools and we don't necessarily inspire kids to do sport, but just unleash their passion, whatever that passion might be. Yeah. And goal setting. So I really enjoy that space and the community engagement side to sport.
Yeah.
I guess that's lots of like you are going out and meeting people, talking to people, and again, like we've touched on most things here, like that is just seems like something you're super passionate about and you're good at it. So
yeah, I really enjoy it. I could talk underwater, and I think like we said, I've like come into my own the last few years, and I generally am so passionate about being able to just be an open book and share, and I think that helps people learn and kind of take away. They might not necessarily have anything to say at the time, but you know that they're able to kind of reflect off what you've been able to openly share.
Yeah, it helps them be a bit more open as well in terms of what they're feeling.
It's nothing worse than just speaking to someone being like, yeah, how are you going? And they're like, yeah, great. Good. Like, okay, well, I'm not doing great, so not sure how to come back to you on that one.
I'm going to unleash on you.
Yeah, let me just trauma dump on you.
This is, so I think we've had our couple little discussions on this one in terms of, like you said, you came from a surf background. you were. I think you definitely were a bit further along than I was. I left pretty early. I think I was like under 15, 16 when I sort of left. As soon as the skis kind of got brought in, they scared me, and I got out of there. Yeah, I got scared. Those things are huge. I hadn't hit puberty then. I was still a little. I was basically 40 kilos, just bone then. So I was like, that thing's gonna hurt me. But yeah, we've made a few open comments. Well, I have anyway, about how I think they don't work as hard as we do, or we're this and that.
Look, he's just starting beefs left.
You wait until they come back to swimming on next month.
We start swimming with them. I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm over in Europe. That's what I was gonna say. Like, how do you feel about the difference between like triathlon and surf? Do you think there is a difference? Do you think there's a difference in abilities? Do you think work ethic, like where they sort of are on a?
Yeah, so similar to you guys, back home I swim in a swim squad that's like surf. Based, and those guys can swim. Don't get me wrong.
Phenomenal swimmers.
Mate, they're going to hear this and put you 20 seconds down.
This is my, they will for 300 meters. We do anything further than 300 meters.
Yeah, but they don't swim anything over 300.
Don't care. We're better than over 300.
So true. They got speed, I'll give them. I think for me, like I don't question their work ethic. They fucking work hard. I think I would say the money, but sometimes you watch their events, I'm like, fuck, they're getting paid a lot better than us.
They're making more money than we do domestically.
Yeah, exactly. So the money side of things, I'm like, might go back and surf. But I think when I speak to the surf guys about like what my training looks like, what I've got on for the rest of the day, they're like, holy shit. It's like they swim in the morning and they'll do an afternoon session. They might do some gym work, maybe twice a week, but they're not doing a 4-hour ride. They're not doing a 20K run session.
The long aerobic hours.
Exactly. Yeah. They're going and doing a board or a ski or even an iron session, but the iron session's an hour?
Yeah.
Like I'm not underplaying. They work incredibly hard, but I think
different sports,
and I think triathlon is just that next level of professionalism.
Yeah.
In that we generally do train like 30-hour weeks.
Yeah.
50 weeks a year.
Yeah.
We don't have a huge off season either.
We're even looking at their off season right now. They won't be in the pool for 3 months.
Exactly.
No, and it's like we have 2 weeks maybe. You come back and it's like.
And I don't want to be rude, but you can bluff your way through a surf race.
Yeah.
You can there's elements there with waves across all events. Maybe not the iron, but you can bluff your way through a swimmer. Or a ski.
What would you take out of the whole surf sphere and put it into triathlon? Would it be the funding from the big dogs or the prize money?
Yeah, bring Earl over.
Surely you know someone
Race
from around down in Sydney.
Finally, I think surf's only going to grow.
Do you reckon they will go to the Olympics?
Okay,
sorry. 2 questions. That's a 2-parter. Do you think they'll go to the Olympics, and do you think they should go to the Olympics?
Yes and no.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Why not?
I don't believe so either.
I've heard conversations which give that my first answer more merit.
See, I've heard some comments as well.
Yeah,
that they're going to be in the
saying
Olympics.
32.
Yeah,
well, it makes sense, doesn't it? They'll bring it to the Gold Coast,
but
they'll win a stack load of gold medals.
You basically just handed Australia and New Zealand like a shit ton of medals right there.
Do I think it should be in? Controversial because I got a lot of mates. No.
As
soon as I heard it was in, my gut feeling was like, that feels shit.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel. Yeah.
You probably have had like the same. I've been training and living in parts of Europe where I've brought up my background. I was like, I got in through surf lifesaving, and they're like, what's that?
Yeah.
And it's like you can't have landlocked countries representing their country in this event. So
that's a good point. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, there are so many landlocked European countries that don't
and
have surf.
They can't have access.
Yeah. These demonstration events need like breakdancing. That was a lot. Made the Olympics a lot.
That was in and out pretty quick.
But I'm like, the Olympics is so prestigious.
That's an X Games.
Don't bring in this shit that makes it like a laughing stock when you've got people dedicating their whole lives to making it, and you've got events like the marathon, and then you're gonna put I'm not saying they're on the same level. A gold medal in marathon versus breakdancing.
Still a gold medalist.
But you're still Olympian, you're still an Olympian, right?
Yeah.
And I remember having this conversation with a mate, and he's like, there's going to be clubbies that are prancing around the beach now who are going to get to slap the Olympic rings on their arm.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just doesn't sit well with me. I'm the same.
And again, we've got lots of friends in the surf scene as well. So it's like, again, nothing against them, but it is just, unfortunately, that's just the matter of fact in that sport that it's
not a worldwide sport.
Not a worldwide sport. Yeah. Like it's just not.
They're going to clean up.
Yeah,
they are.
Literally.
It's a great couple of Australian medals though. Think about it. Gold, top of the medal tally.
It's just selfish.
Yeah, it is. It's just annoying.
Yeah.
One triathlon event, 15.
Yeah,
club events.
15 club events.
I'll be sitting with Locke at the pub having a bit of beer.
Listen to you motherfuckers.
Well, Leighton mentioned the money in
Ooh.
yeah, here we go. Now we go.
I heard there's a bounty out for you.
Me? Oh, yeah.
Is that from the beef?
Yeah, some bloke doesn't like
They're
it.
still
I
going as
figured
well.
out.
Every time I
They
keep
took
saying
my
it
money.
come
I
up.
didn't finish.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Same. No, neither did Leighton.
Yeah.
Oh, God damn.
Didn't even get him a Woolbar triathlon hat, mate.
No hat? No way. Well, how do you, like, obviously, you know, we're called the Unfunded and there's a reason for that. How do you find money in triathlon? Is it a struggle for you?
What money?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I got cut from funding.
Oh wow.
Did you not know that?
No, I don't really keep up to it. It just pisses me off. So I just sort of stay out of it.
I got cut 2023.
And why would that
Same as
happen?
Luke. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
same as Luke. Same as Jazz.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot of athletes. I had been out that whole year, so I'd had a stress fracture.
Right.
Then I did 2 rounds of like IVF fertility stuff, which
Gosh.
got to do and don't really have a choice with that one.
Yeah.
And then I had an ankle reconstruction, and so I put in like a request. There's like a clause to say that if you've had significant enough injuries that they can like put a pause almost on your categorization for 6 months to see how you come back. They didn't deem that those injuries significant
What else
enough.
did you need to break your back
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah, no, literally.
Literally. That's pretty
I've
savage.
got 3 things going on. But that's not enough. Sorry. You
Sorry,
need 4.
Yeah, I'll go.
Just
wanna-
break your own.
I'll go
like,
jump in
leg,
front of
just-
moving traffic.
Yeah.
So I make you feel better.
What the hell?
I want to preface to the funding you're getting is like $6,000.
Yeah,
Like-
fuck
So
off.
I remember
It's
I
not
got,
much.
yeah, I got offered funding in 2023 and I literally said, you know what, keep your funding. I don't actually need that. Because like, well, what I was going to make there, I would lose more elsewhere.
Yeah.
So it was like, the
Yeah, 'cause
same.
there's
It's
restrictions.
nothing.
There's restrictions. What
Yeah.
kind of restrictions are there on that funding?
It's like sponsor logos on your suit.
yeah.
So I got a beer company on my suit now. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to have a beer company on my suit.
Yeah, of
Like,
course. Because
serious?
the
Yeah.
Tri Australia is a bit like
Yeah.
traditional. Would that be the word?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Maybe it's something
Reserved. Reserved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just was told that it wouldn't be. Even you would have had to have like, or you are pretty heavily involved in Swiss anyway. So would you have had to had? I know a lot of the boys have to have QAS.
Yeah, I had to have NSWIS, but then I mean they cut that program, so you're like, cool.
Oh yeah,
Like-
wow.
Yeah.
And I think that's been the biggest blessing. My old man, to his credit, was like, you just got to set up your own environment and operate as your own CEO, because
Yeah.
then you're not completely affected by their decisions. And he's like, if you back yourself and you love this sport, go and make it happen. Like create a system that it's financially viable for you, rather than being dependent on a handout.
Yeah.
And I think, again, this might be a bit controversial, but I think there are some athletes over the years where they've just expected this like money to keep coming from Austri and have been like putting themselves up to do races that they're not probably at that level to race, and getting things paid for like flights and ACOM because they're getting entered into that level of race. And it's like, this is kind of a piss take.
You're just almost doing it just because you can, not because you should.
Exactly.
And there's no building, and I think this is kind of where sport is going as a whole, is building the individual athlete's brand. I think like that's what you've done pretty well yourself. I've tried very hard to do that over the last couple of years. I'm not attached to I'm not Lockie Jones, Australian triathlete. Like I'm not affiliated
Something a
with
bit more,
yeah. I am myself, my own personality. This is what I wear. This is how I do it. This is how you go about it. It's like trying to build your environment, like you just said.
100%.
Build your environment around you. Work with people that you trust. Work with people that you want to work with and that want to work with you.
And that's so refreshing because they back you. And do you know
Yeah.
what happens? Like then when you have a terrific result, it's like this overwhelming sense of gratitude because you're like, fuck yeah, I did it with a team of people
Yeah.
that have helped me get there. But also then when you have negative results, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Versus with Austri, it's like, oh, I don't know, am I going to get cut? Like I didn't meet my KPIs. It's like,
There's a fear factor around
yeah,
it.
100%. Versus I come back to my team back home in Sydney and I'm like, got people that come and like rally around you and they're like, oh, well, mate, like, fuck, let's just chip away at the next block.
going.
Yeah.
So obviously, sorry.
No, you go.
Obviously now you're not nursing.
No.
You're doing it all through self-sponsored, that kind of stuff. So that's how you're getting through.
That's how you
Yeah.
surviving.
Surviving.
Yeah.
I got
That's cool.
some few corporate sponsors
Yeah.
that have been really helpful. So like Honan, which is now Marsh Insurance.
Yeah.
So it seems odd, but like insurance company.
Yeah.
So they come on board and it's very bespoke, do kind of like goal setting, performance mindset work for them. and I'm on lucky enough to be on a retainer from them.
Oh,
It's like sponsors.
Nice. Yeah.
But again, that's like when athletes ask how do you get a sponsorship? How
Or
do
you're
I
giving back?
It's like, I got into that through someone that backed me, and he was like quite high up, and he opened that door, and then he gave me an opportunity to talk, and then that's where they were like, oh, there's value in this.
Yeah.
Sweet. How you mimic that and kind of give a handbook for other athletes to go and find a sponsorship
Everyone's
like that.
different, yeah.
I don't know. Like it's really tough.
It's tricky because it's very much like play to your strengths
100%.
kind of thing. Like that's how do you promote yourself, or what are you good at? Like find what you're good at and find a way to monetize that and offer that service to somebody else. Like that's
how do you add value?
Yeah. And I do a lot of the similar stuff that you do, like in terms of going out and speaking to people. And it is like, I think a lot of people just go, oh, I will try to get a shoe sponsor so I can get free shoes, try to get a bike so I can get free. It's like,
That doesn't take you very far, does it? But if you can get someone that can give you money, well, you can buy your shoes.
Free stuff is free
Can't
stuff,
you?
but
Yeah.
it's like, if you can go and add, and I think even with those corporate sponsors, that adds value later on down the track. You know,
100%.
That's a connection later on down the track.
You're almost saying like you're focused in on what you can bring to them rather than what they
So
can bring to you in the initial stages, right?
what I
Because
was-
that
yeah.
will
Value, don't
secure
they?
the sponsorship or the business.
What I was initially taught by one of the corporate sponsors that I work with, and it was when I was early on, he was my first one. It was very much, all right, so if a sponsor is going to give you X amount, you have to find a way to give them that X amount of value back. So if they're giving you hypothetically $100,000, how are you going to give them $100,000 worth of sales
Value.
Rather
Yeah.
than
or
just
whatever?
results.
Not just a
results are up and down.
a logo on the suit.
Yeah.
Really, at the end of the day, is just nothing.
Means nothing.
It means
Yeah.
nothing. So it's like, what other things can you add around that to add value to their company? So you're always trying to think of what can I do for you.
And that's where athletes need to really value what they do learn within sport too. It's like that high performance mindset. We take it for granted and it just becomes your everyday and what you have to do to be an elite athlete. But you go into the corporate world and there's so much that corporates can take from that and you can share with their staff, and then that will help save staff retention.
Yeah.
And that saves them hundreds and thousands. Because if you can like uplift staff's like mental satisfaction, their well-being, how they, feel as a group coming into the workplace, or from an athlete coming in and sharing how they're able to implement that, it's like, fuck, that you actually can put a dollar sign on that.
Yeah.
It's weird how similar, I guess, the actions that we put into place for our triathlon and how similar they are to the corporate world in terms of your CEOs and the high end sort of what we do is essentially what they do, just in a different.
But do you know what? We have to operate as our own business.
Yeah.
Like we essentially are our own CEO.
Yeah.
And so like you think about it, you are running your own business.
Yeah.
I'm like
Yeah.
CEO. I'm also like head of finance, head of marketing.
We're doing it all.
I'm head of
Yeah.
performance. Like,
Yeah.
and I remember my dad explaining it like that. And I was like, fuck, I'm a boss bitch. Like,
Literally. You are the business.
What company's next?
Yes.
Slide into the DMs.
Well, you touched on some challenges for women in the sport in terms of body image.
yeah.
Are there other challenges for women, or do you find like it's quite a supportive place for females in this sport?
I think triathlon's come a long way. I think we're lucky that it's pretty equal at the minute. I think, you've got equal race distances, equal prize money, equal TV coverage. I think there's a lot of equal opportunity out there for triathlon as a sport, men versus women. I think like you could go down rabbit warren around like transgender athletes in terms of that whole debate, but I think that's something that in my opinion should be a separate category. I think like women have fought pretty hard to establish themselves in the sport or endurance sports. So I think that's something that's pretty precious and we need to keep that and what we've established. And I think in terms of challenges women face, it's probably a lot around body image. It's around fertility, especially in the space of endurance sports. That's something where we are thrashing our bodies, and because of these big goals we have in sport, it might be something that you put off to the side. And as women, there is a body clock rolling. And it's something that you're like, oh, yeah, I'll look at that later. And for me, that was something that I was like, yeah, I'll look at that later. And then I had a series of injuries. I kind of knew from an early age it was going to be something that was probably going to be something I needed to look into. And so then having this opportunity of time, I was like, yeah, I'll look into it. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I literally have low egg count, low egg quality. And they've told me that if I want to freeze my eggs, it needs to be now.
Does that have anything to do
Wow.
with the triathlon sport or doing the endurance stuff?
Yeah, for me, like I was in RED, so like relative energy deficiency syndrome. So, and like I didn't have a period for 10 years.
Wow.
And was told that that's a good thing, means you're training hard enough.
Oh my, who the hell?
Recipe.
I mean,
for
team
stress
dietitian.
fractures.
Yeah.
Serious.
My
So-
goodness.
The dietitian said
So
that.
outdated. Is
Yeah.
hell.
So it's like, I mean, I like literally was really sick as a kid. Long story short, lost like 1 ovary because I was in hospital for like 6 months. So like we always knew that there was going to be challenges there. But you add on top, that
30 hours a week of training.
30 hours of training,
Yeah.
10 years without a period, bone density that was
Wow.
Yeah.
shocking. Female hormones that were, I remember the doctor telling me that my female hormones were less than that of a menopausal woman. And I was like 28.
God.
And I was like, holy shit. And that's where for women, and this is, I guess I speak for women a lot more because that's my experience and that's something I understand a lot more. But it's like, that is something that you can have the ability in endurance sports to do a shitload of damage. And unless you're educated and have the right performance staff looking out for you, you have no idea because you just got tunnel vision on this goal and this dream. And then it's not until athletes leave the sport and they're like, hang on a second, now my goals have shifted and I want to go into this workspace and I want to, have a family and kids. And you're like, hang on a second, that's actually not going to come very easily because I've just
ruined all that.
ruined my body.
Like we're going to talk about this later, I think, but the actual damages that triathlon are doing to people's body. I mean, we're at this elite stage where we want to peak high performance as high as we can, but at what cost is it to our one body that we get for life?
Yeah, people don't realize like how damaging. Like you think, health and well-being. Like you guys are athletes, you're doing sport every day.
it's to the extreme.
You must be so healthy, but it's like actually we are doing so much damage to
I think
our
I've
body.
had like 8 stress fractures.
yeah,
God.
Yeah.
Well, running's not great for you, right? I mean, that's pretty well known.
hand
You-
to the pavement like that.
Yeah, like your joints. They say, obviously swimming's a lot better. I was talking to someone the other day and said I started running this, and you should swim instead.
Hey,
know.
well,
Yeah, I know. No, I'm
You
not
still
going to
got your
stop. I'm not going to stop. I'm still into it.
Someone bring an egg?
I even start with egg. Yeah, but it's you don't think about it when you got the blinders on and you're really running
Hell for
literally
leather.
down this track. Yeah.
And again, I think that's just something again, like I was went through my own journey and was comfortable enough to share that through the lived experience, like right then and there. And it was something that was important to me because I was like, I didn't know about this. No one spoke about this when I came through the sport. It was like almost a badge of honor that you didn't have your period. Like there was no one.
I can't believe that.
My
Yeah.
goodness.
It
Yeah.
kind of opens
That blows
our
my
eyes
mind,
as
yeah.
Well, yeah,
guys.
obviously we don't have
Yeah.
that.
Of course,
but
yeah.
A bit more.
obviously you're growing. I mean, we understand the importance of having one, and like we're educate.
Yeah.
I like to think we're pretty
You know what it
educated.
is.
So
Which is
yeah,
good. Yep.
yeah,
It's a
exactly.
good
We know
start.
it. It's not scary to us anymore. But obviously for someone in the sport to say that, that's good. You don't need to have one. For that is
Yeah.
insane.
Where
That's right.
something that we would never actually hear.
You would
from.
never hear that.
No, it's so
Yeah.
important to have these conversations. That's why this is
100%.
great to have you in here.
brings it to the surface and
Exactly.
then athletes that are going through it actually then learn that they're like, oh, okay, fuck, like thank God there's an athlete that's like gone through it, come out the other side, being able to correct it, thank God. But like even that, like I remember having a kind of intervention and someone sitting me down and they were like, you will not like make it where you want to go in this sport if you continue down this path. Like you're not fueling, your body's constantly breaking, like your bone health's shocking, your estrogen, your metabolic rate is zero, like everything. And that the nurse in me, like I'm not dumb. I understand the medical
Yeah.
sides
Yeah.
of
Of
things.
course, yeah.
But I'd just been I didn't get there on my own. And that's one gripe I have with Oz Tri is they kind of come in, they've refreshed staff. And I'm like, you guys need to appreciate the context that athletes have sat in for a decade.
Yeah.
And you need to appreciate the damage you've done. It's all well and good coming in and having great informed staff that have turned that rhetoric around and are like, preaching all the right things now. But you've got an athlete cohort that's heard the wrong and the most toxic things for years. You just can't bring in new staff and think that you can shift the culture overnight.
I
Yeah.
love having somebody else who's having to just shit on
you
us,
have-
right? This is awesome.
But I'm like, it's like, fuck,
Yeah.
you can't just come in and expect everyone to go like,
It's
oh,
not
that's
an
brilliant.
overnight
Yeah.
solution.
Yeah, let's
and we're
just
just
skip
gonna
away
go,
happily into the sunset. It's like,
Yeah.
no.
We've
Like,
been educated for however long on this process, and this is how we,
Yeah.
this is how we can become
Just
the
to
best
flip,
athlete.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I meant to completely flip
Yeah.
on
You've got that
my
scarring
beliefs.
underneath.
100%.
Yeah.
It's like damage that's done. And I'm like, I'm on board. Like, I want to shift it into a positive
Yeah.
direction. I'm here to come along for the
But you
ride.
need to hear the scarring.
But
that's
you guys,
happened,
you've just employed an entirely new roster of staff that have no contextual understanding of what athletes have been through the last decade more.
Yeah.
So let's bring them up to speed with what we've been through, because otherwise I don't really want to hear what they've got to say.
There's got to be a different way for them to almost educate us. Like you have to, it's not just here's all the information. It's like, okay, here's what you've heard and this is how it differs.
Yeah.
Like this is the actual right way.
And
so
we understand like,
redirect.
what's been, and not even around female health, but even like bigger topics. It's like around performance and funding. Because it's like, I remember having this conversation and them talking about like the new system they want to roll out. And I'm like, I wouldn't buy in because I'm like, as an athlete, I'm interested in looking after myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want the whole program to succeed, but right now I'm just focused on me surviving.
And it is, and obviously like, I mean, I'm obviously very new to the Elite Athlete Committee and you've been a part of that and I've just jumped on that. Thank you. But it's, it was funny like hearing you guys talk how their role, I think there was a bit of pressure into, we really want you guys to back this.
Yeah.
Like almost just like, there wasn't really, all right, we want to build a belief in you that you do believe in this topic. It's almost just, okay, because you are the athletes, you have to believe this.
Yeah, it was almost like, this is our strategy. We need you guys to back it because you're like the leaders of the athletes. And I'm like,
it's like
exactly that.
You convince us then.
Convince us. And also exactly that. We're the leaders of the athletes. Like Elite Athlete Commission, we serve the athletes.
Yeah.
Not you guys.
Yeah. You're meant to, we're here to represent everyone.
Yeah.
If you want us to believe it, you need to
show us.
Get us to believe it.
Exactly.
Yeah. You need to turn, these guys and then we lead.
I think there's going to be a real changing of the guard almost in terms of athletes. You are seeing athletes willingly go out and do their own thing. Like I think they've almost taken away every single performance center. I don't think there is any performance centers anymore in Triathlon Australia, and that is due to the fact that athletes are willing to just, we're not getting any money, we're not getting any financial benefit out of being in the centers, so I might as well just go off and do what's best for me, and what's best for me is elsewhere out of the system. So
100%.
Do you think that we will see the same success in Australia that we did back in the early 2000s? Like, are you hopeful? Do you see change? Do you see, because like, I don't think we've got some incredible talent, but I would like to think that we could be somewhere near the top.
I would like to think we could be somewhere near the top. Do I think we're going to see it turn around in the time frame they want? I'll be honest and say no.
And that time frame is Brisbane 32?
Yeah.
Yeah, I struggle to see that as well. I think not with the... I
think they've completely undercut their talent pool in the country.
I think the talent right now, yes. Like, it's almost like... Where I said, I'm sure you'd be the same, is you just cannot help but feel so incredibly overlooked. Like, it's like, all right, so anybody from the age of sort of 22 to 30, you just ride along the wave now and you're done. We really only care about anybody who's a junior right now because they're going to be in their prime for 32. Brisbane 32.
And essentially we know we're not really going to get the results that we're looking for in LA. So like, come along for the ride, let's help us get the 3 quota, do your bit. See you later.
Realistically, we're not putting any time or effort into you. That's what it feels like for me.
No, I agree. And I think that's even, you see it in the policies.
Yeah.
The policies where it's like, there's this clause where it's like, discretionary. But hey, if you're an age of someone that we're looking to select for a Brisbane Games where there's, opportunity to develop you, we can put you in.
See, I thought that was one of the wild ones that I saw.
And it was literally age.
Yeah, they did say it was the first time I've ever.
How can they do that?
It was for a World Series. It was
the
World Series policy. First time I've ever seen a policy where it stated the age of an athlete.
And I was like, right, I'm over the hill. I'm 30.
Yeah. I'm 24 and I felt like I was over the hill. Like, I'm like, I'd still like to think I can be in Brisbane. Like, I'll be 30, I'll be 31, 32 at that point. Like, I'd like to think.
And for an endurance athlete,
you're only getting better.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's it's like.
When's prime? 26, 28?
Well, for women,
it goes on, yeah.
Women is later.
It's literally in your 30s.
Yeah.
And this is where it comes back to like, I just do my own thing and back myself because I'm like, I don't actually need you guys to back me.
Yeah, be your own
And you
boss.
can't argue with the results. It was one thing I was always taught. If you're winning races, you can't argue with winning races.
Exactly.
If you're winning races, they got to pick you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a challenge. Like, I feel for athletes because it's really like athletes that aren't in that window of Brisbane 2032 because I think it's a really challenging period to navigate and you kind of just feel like you're ticking a box and part of the process.
Yeah.
Which, look, I'm on board to hopefully see their culture shift. I think they've just got a really big task ahead of them and I think it's been a rough start with a lot of staff being shelled.
Yeah, it's almost like it was maybe could have been the right thing to do, but just not so quickly. Like, it just felt like
I remember getting an email every staff member.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right.
It felt like it was every week there was just a whole new list of stacking. Sackings.
And then who got sacked? Yeah.
It was just this person. We'd like to thank them.
We'd just like to thank them for their contribution over the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, see you later. We're bringing in these new people.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Yeah, it's
so weird.
Really weird shift. And yeah, again, hopefully we can see, because we were so successful back in the day, back in the early years. And I think there's other reasons for why that is. Like, obviously, I don't think the Europeans were as heavily involved in the sport as what they are now. They've just grabbed it and run with it, and they've really run a mile with it.
And I think they've got things like their leagues. So like the French Grand Prix, you've got the German Bundesliga.
The development within
even Spain,
the nation,
Italy, they've got these like national leagues where they've got teams that are funding them. They're not only getting money, they're getting bikes, they're getting kit, like shoes, wetsuits, where it's like you're essentially set up and you're earning some money from a real young age.
Yeah.
Australia,
you can see a development through it.
Great, Australia, I can go win a Conti Champs and win $900.
Yeah.
I'm not even covering my flights and ACOM.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and I'm the 30-year-old elite athlete calling this professional.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, it's not. Even like I look at the British guys, they tend to complain a little bit, but the numbers that they
mate, they get a check in the mail each month.
Yeah, but I mean, like
funding.
you look at their you even look at the start list, and I remember I went and raced like one of the British Series races, and it was a race actually similar to what we're racing on the weekend, the Super Sprint Champs. And how many males are on the start list for this weekend?
50.
How many females?
35.
So I remember in that race.
Is this for this coming weekend? Just saying, we have recorded this on a Friday. I don't think we mentioned that.
We had, this is Friday, the 2nd of May.
Cool.
But yeah, so in that race, there was over 100. There was people reserved. Like there was 100 something males, and then there was like I think like 70 to 80 females. So it was like, and that was take away. Yeah, all your high performing guys. There was no Alex Yees. There was no like Kate Woffs. There was none of those guys. So the whole high performance sector wasn't there. This is just juniors or like people developing. Yeah, it was crazy, and they had all the way down to like G finals. It was insane. Crazy. So we just don't have the depth that other countries do, unfortunately. I think there is.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, go.
Would you go out of the system and go completely forget short course, go long? That's where the cash is at the moment. That's where I guess essentially now your own entity. Yeah. That's what long courses are.
We've been talking about it a lot lately.
It's also coming to Australia now. We've just heard the news. T100 on the Goldie.
Yep. Would you go long?
If they put the T100 on the Gold Coast in the surf, I'm there. If it's in the Broadwater,
nah.
Take it or leave it. Nah, I think long course is something that interests me. It definitely does entice me. I think it's something I haven't been able to look at in the past because I just haven't had the consistency. I've just been up and down with injuries and not able to manage the run mileage. Like last year, I think I averaged 45K a week.
Yeah. Okay.
This year, I'm already averaging 60K a week.
Yeah.
So it's like that consistency's come back. And so I think that's going to allow opportunities to look at long course, hopefully the end of this year, and then be able to manage long course and short course next year. But then I think you look at it and you're like, even try in what we do in the World Triathlon circuit, it's like, fuck, you're trying to balance mixed team relay distance, which is like a 20-minute race, and Olympic, which is 2 hours. Like, when are you ever going to race?
Both. When
are you ever going to race a 1,500 meter swimmer with a 50 sprint or a 400 track athlete with a marathon? Like, never. Yeah. So we're already trying to balance these like two extremes. Yeah. Then you add long course to it. I think like for me, I'm like, I don't want to just be average.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, a lot of the time I am just average, but in terms of like my intent is I want to try and be the best in what I'm going to go out there and do. And so it's like, well, I don't think you can be the best trying to do super sprint, Olympic distance and long course.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think
pick a lane.
Literally. Essentially.
Don't spread yourself too thin.
I think that's where it'll be like, I'll probably give myself this year in short course and then reassess and be like, do we want to keep cracking on towards LA or is it time for me to step into long course?
Yeah. And make a different future.
Wow. If there's, I got one that we could end on. If you want to.
Yeah, I thought of one too. Let's hear what yours is.
Okay. Well, this is kind of one that I like. It's because it's not just, there's a lot of talk about Emma Jeffcoat, the triathlete. And for me, this can be related to triathlon, but with your whole career, triathlon career, like, again, like we go back to the speaking gigs that you've been doing, what is something, I guess, if you can summarize it into like a couple of sentences, like what is something that you would like to be known for? Like what would Emma Jeffcoat like to be known for at the end of her time?
Like a legacy.
Yeah, piece. What would you at the end of your life? You know,
shit.
you've
Oh,
I
go
got
deep.
dark.
No, this is good. We'll finish on this question. It's perfect.
No, but
God.
that's what I mean. Like, you know, again, like we focus so much on Emma Jeffcoat, the triathlete, but then like you've got your workspace post this, and you've got your aspirations on who you want to be, and you know how you want to inspire people. Like, what do you want to be? What does Emma Jeffcoat want to be known for?
That's a great question. I think if I come back to what we were speaking about earlier in terms of Tokyo, one of the biggest lessons I took away from Tokyo was valuing, and I guess it's going to sound cliche, but like loving Emma as Emma, not Emma the triathlete. I'd put so much into building Emma the triathlete, and that being my identity. Went to the Olympics and was like, oh, that felt shit. And it really just made me come back to looking at and being like, who am I? Like, I do triathlon, but that's not who I am. Like, who actually am I that I get up each day and I appreciate and I value that? And I think if I come back to like trying to sum it up by one word, it would be like, I'd love to be remembered for my strength. And I think like strength across the board in terms of like, if you look at racing, like I think I always go out there and race hard from the gun. And I think that's like how I would like to be remembered in the triathlon area, as being someone that just fucking went for it and played to her strengths. And then I think when I look outside of triathlon in terms of strength, to be able to speak up and advocate for others in the body image space, I think being able to show strength in being able to kind of go against the grain and having balance. So enjoying triathlon, but also pursuing a nursing career and being able to go to the pub on a weekend and have some beers with my mates.
Yes.
And not be made to feel ashamed for that.
Yeah, I think just having the strength to back myself and do things a little bit differently and play to my own strengths and and backing that.
Because I'm sure like this is the same as any athlete. Like you see yourself as like, I'm the triathlete, I'm this and that, but I guarantee you wake up every morning and your parents don't look at you and go, oh, that's Emma the triathlete.
Yeah.
Your parents don't do that. Your friends don't go, oh, that's Emma the triathlete. Like
No.
it's very so
in such a little bubble of
such
triathlon.
a little bubble. Yeah, like
Yeah.
It's weird how we hyperfixate on that so much, and we make it our personality. When stepping outside post career, it's like, oh my god, like there is so much. It's
a big bad word out there.
Big bad word out there. So nobody actually cares. Like
100%. Like literally, I was running this morning along the beachfront, bumped into Fish, like Ryan Fisher, who went to Rio Olympics. Like, I look at that, I'm like, oh, it's Fish, like a good mate. I'm not looking and being like, that's Fish, he ex-triathlete, Olympian. You're just like, that's my mate.
Yeah.
And I think like that, it's easy to get hyper fixated on like outcomes and results and tie your whole identity into like swim, bike and run.
Yeah.
And I just come back to the point of like, guys, it's literally swim, bike and run.
Yeah.
We're
much more
exercising.
going on. Like we're exercising here. Like,
So much more to life.
Yeah.
And I think like being able to kind of separate, that's what you do, but where does the value lie?
Yeah.
Not in that.
And I think it's cool, like seeing someone like Fish who's now gone on to start his own businesses, and you look at those people who have had successful. I look at like Chris McCormack, like gone and had a successful triathlon career, and then gone into the business world, and then they, become successful elsewhere, and it's like their success isn't just tied to this sort of 10 to 15 year window.
Yeah,
it's lies so much deeper than that.
100%. And I think that's athletes. You're gonna see athletes struggle post sport who haven't probably
done anything
nailed
else.
that,
Set
and haven't
themselves
got
up.
that balance and have tied too much into the triathlon world. So I think it's going to become a really important piece for all athletes to kind of do that self-work.
Hopefully there's a bit more education around that space as well, because I think we've seen a number of athletes sort of quit or retire in the last couple years, and just sort of seeing them go from where they were having that everyday routine of
to
triathlon
what the fuck am I doing now?
holy shit, what's next?
Labouring.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've had plenty of banter today, but I think conversations like this on a forum like a podcast is what helps that, because people can, in a safe space on a run or a ride or in their bedroom, have a listen and be I actually feel like part of a conversation and feel a bit heard. So
and it's good to learn more about you, I think, because if you want that goal to be known for your strength, to know more about you is essential, because it's obvious you're strong in so many different parts of life.
Thank you.
You're welcome. She wants to be remembered as Emma Jeffcoat, okay? Not fucking Emma the triathlete. Don't fucking forget
it. Called Emma. So many.
I haven't got a finishing, but Sarah, this is usually your specialty. Do you
I thought I just did it.
Oh, okay, sorry. Are we not plugging the socials?
What do you mean? Oh, okay.
Go
because this is
Emma's socials.
Yeah, we're gonna plug Emma's socials.
Okay. So, all right. Yeah,
Actually,
okay.
my name.
Yeah, all right. I'll do something.
Sarah does it in a real well radio sort of way.
Radio voice.
Yeah, puts a radio voice on.
Make sure you check us out on our socials, the Unfunded Pod. You can send us an email at the unfundedpodcast@gmail.com. Why are you guys laughing at me? What?
It's just like your radio voice turns on.
Who is this woman?
Yeah, you've not been here the last hour.
I've been working in radio for a very long time. Now over to Emma. Emma, what are your socials? Where can people go to find you?
Literally Emma Jeffcoat on Instagram.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, super easy. Follow along.
I had to put an underscore on mine.
Well, you're Lucky Jones.
Guaranteed.
LuckyJones.try.
Try hard.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I broke the
I
mic.
guarantee it's some triathlon, but you're gonna get a shitload of everyday life, which is the balance piece we spoke about.
Yes. Love it.
Thanks for coming on.
Pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Bye.